a rapid growth in various sectors and is at the threshold of a digital revolution. A number of industries have adapted to the technological change and have witnessed an optimum turnover over the years.
The real-time engagement that you can do with your customers, with your employees, and the agility and the speed at which you can do a two-way communication. And second is when you really get a lot of data and you see the pattern and get the insight out of it and take a decision. Then you are avoiding taking decisions based on past experience and intuitions. Your decision becomes more data driven and very relevant as on on a real time basis what is happening in the industry where I should be focusing more.
Do Big Symposium, presented by Tata Docomo Business Services and powered by CNBC TV 18, focuses on this technological change that can empower industry leaders in the SME sector across all verticals such as finance, human resources, marketing and many more to reap maximum profits for a business.
You have to do reverse mentoring.
Your access to customers, your access to your addressable universe has completely altered, and the reason organizations have been able to get a higher revenue in a shorter time is because they are able to get their messages across at the same time across the world or across to a larger audience and deal with the changing messages without having to go through a very expensive proposal around it. So in my mind, the need to digitize your operations and the need to digitize the way you connect to your audience is an absolute must and has become a fundamental necessity now.
Hyderabad Analytics.
With the theme Digital Dividends, a Leader's Perspective, Do Big Symposium continued its journey across the country and visited Hyderabad with the industry experts to highlight the impact of digital integration in businesses.
Data on a daily basis.
I don't have a chief digital officer, but I think this is the need of the hour that, there should be a team headed by a chief digital officer who should look at the places where we can digitize the department or the process within a company and focus a lot on that.
Let's take a look at the significant points discussed at the Hyderabad edition.
Well, to kick off the evening and make the case for digital dividends and give us something to talk about as the evening progresses, please welcome Prateek Pashine, who is President Enterprise for Tata Docomo Business Services, to address the gathering.
Good evening, everyone. Do I have to be digital? Does digital impact my business, or does it only impact companies such as e-commerce, retail, online companies? And that was a question in front of us. And we went around, spoke to business heads, CXOs, and what did we hear? We heard a couple of things. One, that digital is not just for e-commerce or online businesses. It actually impacts every business, every industry. And this is what we heard, right? Let's talk about organization. So we believe that we need to do digital. I am a conventional manufacturing setup. How do I go about implementing digital in my organization? And let's look at again how different companies have gone about this digital journey. Nike felt, while they are in this big distribution business of manufacturing sporting goods, they believed that in order to incubate digital, they need to create a separate organization. They created a separate organization which will focus on digital initiatives for Nike. Mahindra, a conglomerate on the other hand, again while they created a separate entity which evangelizes digital, they said the implementation of that will go back to the respective functions, could be sales, could be production, whatever. The thinking will happen in this separate organization, but the implementation will be back to the existing functions. SR on the other hand, again a conglomerate, decided that they could drive this agenda by just increasing the scope of the CIO's office and adding the digital agenda to the CIO's office. Companies are embracing Workplace by Facebook or Yammer, a corporate social or networking product where you are now forcing employees to say, I am no longer going to send you, put a bulletin board for my new products, new launches, new schemes, new policies. All of that's going to be available only on Workplace or on Yammer or any other corporate social media platform. PepsiCo, for example, to drive the digital quotient of its organization, have created lots of online training modules where employees go through it, self-help, and get exposed to the latest digital tools that are out there.
Thank you, Prateek. Just before we move into the part of the evening where we do the panel discussion, I'm going to start the process of being digital. So our first question of the evening, do you have a digital vision and a strategy, and more importantly, is that communicated and known to all employees? So two options, yes or no. I'll quickly invite our panelists on stage. We've got Mr. Hari Talapalli, who is CEO of Call Health, a 360-degree platform for both virtual and physical delivery of health. We've got Mr. Ashok Atluri, who is founder and MD of Zen Technologies, a leading provider of defense technologies and simulators. We've got Mr. Shauman Chakrabarti, who is CFO and President at Dr. Reddy's. We've got Harjit Singh Chauhan, who heads SME operations for Tata Docomo Business. Mr. Talapalli, the industry notoriously known to not be an early adopter of technology. What's the next big revolution in healthcare?
We used a simple principle to do what we are setting out to do in the healthcare side. We said, what a process can do, a person should not, and what a platform should do, a process should not. Anything that can be converted into a digital moment should be converted into a digital moment. And the question then that you ask at an organization level is, there are three dimensions on which you play. You could say that the customer acquisition, customer interaction side of the game, or you could say your entire procurement and supply chain side of the game, or you could talk about your internal processes, which enables you to get faster and better at what you do. What we have set out to do, and to answer your question here, is to try and create a system where every data point of a customer is captured as a data which can potentially be connected. So there are two things that you're trying to do. Create dots where they don't exist and connect the dots where possible. And therefore, for us, there is no chief digital officer. We often pride in the fact that everybody in the company is a digital evangelist. You don't have a choice.
Maybe even 5 years ago, Ashok, you wouldn't even have come to a forum like this because your industry is all about secrecy, taking permissions for every interaction you have to do. But now with the whole defense industry opening up, with offsets coming in, with new procurement policies, government is also very keen that a great private sector defense industry develop. But just give us a sense, in your particular situation, what are the real digital dividends that you look for?
The defense industry, earlier defense was, the investment in R&D was so high that people used to transfer technology from defense to civilian uses. But now R&D in civilian sector is so high that a lot of things that are being developed in the civilian sectors are being pushed to the defense now. That is one. Second thing is, the cycle of development, which used to be 5, 10, 15 years, now it has to be cut short. For example, we have also started using apps, for our customer service department, which has helped the ability to, cut down the time to service, cut down the mean time between failures because the metrics are being tracked, and also increase the productivity of each and every guy, and the customer satisfaction has gone through the roof.
Harjit, just to get a sense, big SME customer base, what are some of the challenges initially that you see customers facing when looking at this whole digital dividend piece?
See, the biggest challenge that we see as SMEs sort of go digital is the clarity of why they want to go digital. Because there are various reasons, various objectives that you can fulfill if you want to go to digital. Most of the successful companies have focused on customer value and customer experience. Let me give you an example. Say internet banking. Now, internet banking has been transformational in India because the underlying infrastructure has been weak, right? So companies have to understand if the underlying infrastructure of a certain segment or a service is weak, it is a fertile ground for a change in customer experience. The same example in the US is perhaps not that transformational, where retail banking, US or Western Europe, retail banking has always been strong. So if somebody is resorting to internet banking, that is almost like an additional channel. So it's more of an omni-channel experience for the customer. So we find that there is this lack of clarity in SME customers as to why they want to do it.
Shobin, coming to your, coming to the question about pushback, implementation challenges, many of the partners you work with, distributors, some of them will probably qualify to be large SMEs. Was there resistance, and typically on what points, and how did you get them to come around?
Yeah, what I earlier explained to you, what we have done with our business partners on a P2P. Similarly, a few years back, we wanted to engage our customers, primarily the distributors in India. If we could have got authentic sales data on a daily basis on each and every SKU. Because some of you, when you really get your prescriptions from the doctors and go to a pharmacy, there could be a possibility we may not get a specific medicine of specific doses in that pharmacy. While there will be a lot of other stocks which is there in the pharmacy which doesn't get sold. Eventually the shelf life expires and there is a lot of waste which happens in the process. We thought if we can compile the daily sales data, it will help us to put across the entire chain right kind of inventory so that it is available with minimum level of inventory and it is not in excess so that shelf life expiry will be minimum.
I'm just going to go to our next poll question of the evening. Do you see your organization appointing a CDO? The options are, of course, yes, no, and a third option is that you already have a CDO. Shaumin, you also hold the global IT BPO, IT and Business Process Excellence function within Dr. Reddy's. You worked at Tech Mahindra before. There's a CIO, CTO function which is very big in companies. Gartner's saying that going forward, the CMO might spend more than them. Give us your thoughts on this role. You said in your setup, because of course you're tech-based, everybody is supposed to be a digital evangelist. But do you see the CDO role getting more popular? We're seeing about 40% people here saying that yes, it is likely that in the next 12 months their organization will appoint one.
So the last 2 years before I left Tech Mahindra, I was leading the consulting function, the business. And our job was to try and help organizations digitize their businesses. I can say that globally, the number of people who probably had a dedicated chief digital officer was probably about 18-20%. That's my understanding of the companies we did.
2 years ago.
Yeah, about some of the biggest companies we talked to. Some of them had, some of them didn't have, etc. But here is one important perspective I want to share. Because we were involved in implementing a lot of stuff that we were trying to tell them, we found a constant conflict between the chief digital officer and the chief information officer. Somewhere in the scheme of things, there was a caste system that was coming up in an organization that the chief digital officer was somebody a step ahead of the traditional CIO. So we often used to advise that rechristen the CIO to a CDO role, but find the right person for it, rather than have two different functions. We found that in an issue.
Shaumin, the CIO reports into you technically. Traditionally, a CIO's been somebody who's looked at more as a support function. You think CIO plus business responsibility is sort of the formula for this CDO sort of a role?
No, we have got a lot of outsourcing in our organization, or some places even a co-sourcing. So what is normally part of IT we have got other partners to do it for us or along with us. So that way the CIO role in our organization is quite a strategic role. For example, our CEO has been thinking about really we need a chief digital officer for almost last 2 years we have been talking. But what we have been doing, we have been discussing, what will be digital strategy. What are some of the new business we can think of with advantage of all the transformation which is happening in the digital technology, and what is the advantage that we can draw to our own business.
Right, there's a question now for Harjeet this is Bhagwan Komadi from Architect Corner, who says that his company is very involved in the smart city governance councils. Do you foresee that being a big play for SMEs? You yourselves, are you helping many such companies with the Smart City Digital India initiatives?
So we are involved in some manner with the government, because remember, all these projects are conceived and implemented on the bedrock of connectivity. So to that extent, we are involved. Perhaps we are not involved in the total solution of it. So in the sense that that's a space which is occupied by companies like TCS and the like, who are conceptualizing the entire solution and therefore, allocating the various parts under it. So the answer is yes, we are involved from a connectivity point of view because that's our core strength.
There was a time when drones, VR, nanotech was all science fiction. Today we are seeing it implemented real time. Next 10 years will be, or even next 5 years will be, far more radical than maybe in terms of technology adoption.
First, let me talk about my industry. I think my industry is ripe for disruption, and SME, small and medium industries, which want to get into defense, this is absolute right time. Macro environment is good. We have a great defense minister, and there's a lot of openness with the armed forces. They're asking, they're putting everything on the website, that these are the products we want, these are the technologies we want to develop. So I think it's a great opportunity. With respect to the technologies that's going to disrupt the machine learning, the big data, and all the kind of other things, I exercise a lot of caution. But big data, it's been around for the last 5 years, or 2 years, or 3 years. We don't know after 3 years will it exist or not.
Okay, one final poll, third question for the evening. Audience, we'll need your participation one last time. What stage of digital strategy implementation are you at? So, what stage is your organization at? 3 options: not yet started, initial stages, or well advanced. Meanwhile, thank you so much, gentlemen, for being on the panel, and a big round of applause for our panelists, please. Thank you.
Do join us next week in Bengaluru as Do Big Symposium, presented by Tata Docomo Business Services and powered by CNBC TV 18, continues its journey in a bid to highlight the significance of digital integration in today's businesses.
Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.